Greetings, beloved. You are not here by accident. You are not a mistake. You are not just passing through time. You were planted in it, assigned to it, and designed for it. You are a chosen one. And before it's too late, there are decisions, alignments, and actions that must be taken because something is happening. Yes, the signs are everywhere. The world is groaning. Systems are shaking. Foundations are trembling. Why? Because purpose is calling out for those who are assigned to answer. To everything, there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. The greatest tragedy is not death. It is a life lived without purpose, a season missed because of ignorance or fear. The timing of your obedience is tied to the timing of impact. You must respond to the call now. You are not just a number in the population. You are a solution, a carrier of divine strategy, a representation of divine authority in human form. Being chosen is not a compliment. It's an assignment. You've been anointed for influence, positioned to lead, and trusted with a heavenly deposit. Don't waste it. Don't just desire elevation, prepare for it. You cannot walk into a season of rulership with a mindset of mediocrity. Preparation precedes promotion. The reason many miss their moment is because they appear unready when opportunity knocks. Discipline is preparation. Study is preparation. Character development is preparation. Do it now before it's too late. The times are shifting. What worked yesterday may not sustain you tomorrow. You must move from simply reacting to proactively discerning. This is not the season to be spiritually sleepy. The tide is turning, and only those who are awake will ride the wave of divine transition. When you delay, you not only rob yourself, you rob others. The people connected to your assignment are waiting. Your delay is costing someone their freedom, their growth, their answer. Partial obedience is still disobedience. Delayed purpose becomes diluted legacy. Chosen one, rise. You were born for such a time as this. There will never be a perfect moment. The moment is made perfect by your obedience. Do it afraid. Do it in faith. But above all, do it now. Understanding divine timing is foundational for anyone who has been chosen for a specific assignment in life. Purpose is always tied to time, and the tragedy for many is not that they were not chosen, but that they did not move in rhythm with the time they were chosen for. Everything that God ordains, He orchestrates according to a set time. There is a divine calendar, invisible to human eyes, but deeply imprinted in the spirit of those who are sensitive. The problem is that many are not missing their calling. They are simply misaligned with the timing of their calling. Timing is the unseen currency of destiny. When we misunderstand time, we tend to either move ahead prematurely or hesitate until the moment has passed. In both scenarios, the consequence is the same: missed assignments, delayed impact, and often unnecessary hardship. Divine timing is not about convenience. It's about alignment. It's about being at the right place at the right time, with the right posture. There are moments in your life where hesitation becomes a form of rebellion and delay becomes a subtle form of disobedience. The difference between success and struggle is often not a matter of calling, but of timing. We must understand that seasons are God's mechanism for distributing purpose. Every season comes with a demand, a set of instructions, and a unique window of opportunity. To ignore the season is to reject the instruction, and to reject the instruction is to forfeit the reward. Divine timing functions like a key. When you act in the right time, doors that once seemed impenetrable suddenly open without resistance. But if you try to force that door out of season, you will exhaust yourself unnecessarily, not because the door doesn't belong to you, but because you are trying to access it without the key of time. There are things that are permitted in one season that become dangerous in another. Maturity is not just knowing what to do, it is knowing when to do it. A blessing received out of time can become a burden. A connection made outside of divine timing can become a curse. Timing is God's way of protecting you from carrying what you are not ready to sustain. This is why preparation must always precede manifestation. God is more interested in your development than your arrival. And divine timing ensures that what is released to you is not only appropriate for the season, but sustainable for the future. Divine timing isn't just about personal fulfillment. It's also about generational impact. Your obedience within a set time has ripple effects beyond what you can immediately see. There are people connected to your alignment whose destinies are activated the moment you step into yours. This is why delay is dangerous. When you delay, you do not just rob yourself, you rob others of the freedom that your obedience would have released. There are assignments waiting on your arrival, and time is the transport vehicle that connects you to them. In understanding divine timing, we also must discern between urgency and hurry. Urgency is spiritual sensitivity. It is the awareness that a moment must be seized. Hurry, on the other hand, is rooted in fear, anxiety, and insecurity. God never rushes, but he does move swiftly when the conditions are right. When divine timing meets personal preparation, acceleration happens. What would have taken 10 years happens in one. What was stagnant begins to flow. Timing, when honored, becomes a divine accelerator. We must become students of time. Study it. Pray for the wisdom to discern it. Observe the shifts in your spirit, your environment, and your assignment. These are often signals that a new time has begun. Heaven announces transitions through subtle shifts. Doors begin to open, certain relationships lose relevance, old passions begin to fade, and new burdens begin to stir. These are not coincidences, they are signals. To ignore them is to forfeit the moment. And when you forfeit the moment, you often have to wait an entire cycle to reclaim it. Some doors, once missed, don't open again. Chosen one, understanding divine timing is not a suggestion, it is a survival strategy. Your impact, your influence, and your fulfillment depend on it. There is a time for everything, and your time is not in the distance. It is now. And what you do in this moment will echo far beyond it. The identity of the chosen one is not defined by popularity, applause, or recognition. It is defined by assignment, responsibility, and the divine mandate placed upon a life before it even began. Being chosen does not begin when people affirm you. It begins when heaven authorizes you. The chosen are marked, not always celebrated. They are often misunderstood, not because they are unclear, but because their calling is uncommon. The world looks for charisma, but purpose chooses character. The chosen one is often set apart not by external signs, but by internal burdens, divine instructions, and unusual levels of sensitivity to things others ignore. To be chosen is not a promotion, it is a summons. It is not about status, it's about stewardship. When you are chosen, you become the answer to a specific problem in the earth. Your life becomes a solution in motion. The pain you've endured, the experiences you've survived, the wisdom you carry, they are not accidental. They are clues to your calling. The chosen are often forged in silence, in obscurity, and through pressure. They are not crowned in comfort. Their identity is shaped not on platforms, but in private. Their authority comes from a place of encounter, not ambition. You must understand that being chosen comes with weight. There is a cost to carrying purpose. The chosen one cannot live like everyone else, talk like everyone else, or move like everyone else. There is a divine restriction on your life because of what you carry. What is permissible for others may be dangerous for you. The path of the chosen is narrow, not because God wants to limit you, but because he wants to preserve what he has deposited in you. Purpose requires purity, and destiny demands discipline. You cannot carry something holy and live recklessly. The chosen are often rejected not because they are unworthy, but because they are unfamiliar. People resist what they can't categorize. This is why your identity must be rooted in who God says you are, not in what people think you are. When you understand that you are chosen, you no longer seek validation from voices that did not assign you. You stop auditioning for rooms God never called you to enter. The chosen one is not desperate for acceptance because they have already been accepted by the one who created their assignment. Every chosen one must come to terms with the reality that they are not their own. You are on divine assignment, and your time, energy, gifts, and resources must be stewarded accordingly. There is a discipline that comes with identity. If you don't know who you are, you will waste time trying to be who you're not. The enemy of purpose is not always failure sometimes. It's distraction. When you don't understand your identity, you become vulnerable to every counterfeit opportunity that looks like success but pulls you away from assignment. The chosen must protect their focus as much as their faith. Understanding your identity also means embracing the uniqueness of your journey. Comparison is a trap that robs many chosen ones of their clarity. You were never meant to duplicate someone else's path. Your process is tailored to your purpose. Your story was handcrafted by God to prepare you for the people you are called to reach. The chosen one must celebrate distinction. You are not competing, you are completing something that only you can fulfill. What God placed in you is not optional in the grand scheme of destiny, it is essential. The identity of the chosen one is not defined by comfort, it is shaped by covenant. You carry a responsibility to reflect a higher reality in a broken world. You are a mirror of hope, a voice of truth, and a vessel of wisdom. You are not just gifted, you are graced. And grace doesn't just empower you, it sustains you. This is why others may collapse under the weight that you carry with strength. Not because you are stronger, but because you are called. The calling comes with a supply that others do not see. Being chosen also means being trusted. God never entrusts purpose to the unprepared. If you are chosen, it means heaven has placed confidence in your capacity to steward something sacred. You are not here to survive. You are here to govern, to influence, to shift culture, to birth ideas, to set captives free, to challenge systems, and to establish order. You were chosen not to fit in, but to stand out, not for attention, but for impact. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs the original blueprint that God placed inside of you. To walk in the identity of the chosen one is to say yes to a life of meaning, movement, and mission. You are not defined by your past, your environment, or your qualifications. You are defined by your assignment. And once you accept that identity, you begin to live, not just for success, but for significance. You begin to live with urgency, with focus, and with the understanding that your life is not random, it is required. The power of preparation is one of the most underestimated principles of purpose. Many desire greatness, but very few understand the cost of readiness. Preparation is not what happens when the opportunity arrives. It is what you do before it comes. It is the process of becoming before appearing. There is no true elevation without transformation, and there is no transformation without preparation. The seasons of silence, obscurity, and waiting are not wasted. They are the workshops of destiny. In those unseen moments, you are being equipped, sharpened, and qualified for the very thing you were born to do. The preparation season is not punishment. It is preservation. Desire without preparation is delusion. Passion without discipline is dangerous. Purpose is weighty, and it requires internal infrastructure to carry it well. This is why some doors do not open, not because you are not called, but because you are not ready. God loves you too much to release you into a level that would crush you. What looks like delay is often divine mercy. Elevation that happens before preparation produces collapse. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you rise to the level of your preparation. Without preparation, talent becomes a liability and visibility becomes a threat to your destiny. Preparation is the silent work behind the scenes that builds the strength, skill, and stability needed for sustainability. The chosen one must value the classroom of obscurity as much as the stage of influence. What you build in private determines how long you last in public. You cannot skip the process. You cannot fast-track maturity. You cannot microwave destiny. Every lesson, every correction, every test in the preparation season is a tool for your longevity. The depth of your preparation determines the height of your impact. Shallow foundations can't sustain high towers. The prepared are not intimidated by delay because they understand that readiness is greater than recognition. Being seen too soon is dangerous when you are not built to endure the pressure. You don't just prepare for the moment, you prepare to remain in the moment. It is easy to arrive at a place by accident, but only the prepared can stay there by intention. Influence will test you. Leadership will stretch you. Impact will expose you. If you are not deeply rooted, you will be easily shaken. Preparation ensures you do not just get there, you thrive when you do. Preparation is more than skill building. It is character development. It is the process of refining your mindset, your motives, your habits, and your heart. The weight of your assignment requires emotional discipline, mental resilience, and spiritual maturity. Without integrity, your gift becomes dangerous. Without wisdom, your platform becomes destructive. God doesn't just prepare your hands, He prepares your heart. Many doors are closed not because you aren't capable, but because your character cannot yet carry what your gift can attract. The preparation season often feels slow because God is building depth, not just speed. One of the greatest evidences of preparation is stewardship. How you manage what you have now reveals how ready you are for more. If you neglect a little, you disqualify yourself from the much. The way you treat your current season is a prophecy about how you will handle your next one. The prepared, diligent, focused, and faithful even when no one is watching. They treat every responsibility with excellence because they understand that preparation is not about performance, it is about posture. It is a mindset that honors the future by investing in the present. The power of preparation also manifests in discipline. You cannot be casual with your calling and expect uncommon results. The chosen one must train like a warrior before ever stepping onto the battlefield. Reading, studying, practicing, praying, learning, and sacrificing are not optional. They are essentials. Champions are built in the dark, long before the lights ever come on. What you sow in consistency will grow in confidence. Discipline does not limit your freedom, it protects your destiny. Preparation develops the habits that will sustain you when the pressure of purpose increases. Every great assignment has a preparation process attached to it. You must become before you are revealed. You must develop before you are delivered into destiny. Preparation builds credibility with heaven. It says, I am ready to carry what you've trusted me with. Many are anointed but unprepared, gifted but untrained, called but unwilling to be processed. And in the absence of preparation, purpose becomes frustrating rather than fulfilling. The gap between calling and fulfillment is bridged by preparation. It is not the calling that guarantees your arrival. It is how you prepare that determines how far you'll go. Recognizing the signs of the shift is a critical skill for anyone walking in purpose. Shifts do not always announce themselves with thunder or dramatic events. They often begin in the subtle movements of the spirit, in the quiet tensions of life, and in the unexplainable restlessness that whispers, "It's time." Those who are spiritually aware understand that purpose moves in patterns, and that discernment is required to notice when one season ends and another begins. You cannot embrace what is next if you are unaware that the previous season is closing. The shift rarely asks for your permission. It simply requires your perception. There are always signs before divine transition. These signs may not be loud, but they are consistent. What once worked no longer yields fruit. What once excited you no longer stirs your spirit. You may feel out of place in rooms where you once thrived. People begin to exit your life. Opportunities dry up, and the familiar becomes uncomfortable. These are not signs of failure. They are indicators of movement. When a shift begins, the environment around you adjusts to make you uncomfortable enough to move forward. The discomfort is a divine disturbance meant to provoke change. One of the clearest signs of a shift is the awakening of new desires and burdens. You begin to care about things you previously overlooked. Your vision expands. Your appetite changes. You are drawn to new territory and new dimensions of growth. This is not coincidence, it is alignment. The shift begins internally before it ever manifests externally. The chosen must be careful not to ignore the inner signals in search of external confirmation. Heaven speaks first in impressions before it speaks through instructions. Those who cannot interpret the signs will find themselves stuck in expired seasons. When a shift is happening, timing becomes sensitive. Delay becomes costly. Every instruction carries more weight, and every decision matters more than before. There is an acceleration that comes with divine timing, but you must move with it. Like the sons of Issachar, you must learn to discern the times and know what to do. You must understand not only that a shift is happening, but how to position yourself correctly within it. Many miss the shift, not because they are disqualified, but because they are distracted. A distracted spirit cannot detect a divine signal. Clarity requires focus. Another common sign of a shift is divine disconnection. Sometimes God will allow relationships, resources, or routines to fade, not because you are being punished, but because you are being preserved. The next season cannot be built with the tools of the old one. There are people who walked with you in one phase of your journey who will not have clearance for the next. Recognizing the shift means being willing to release what is no longer aligned. Clinging to what was can cost you what is coming. Loyalty to the past is not the same as obedience to the future. During a divine shift, revelation increases. You begin to see things more clearly. Patterns that were hidden before become obvious. What was once confusing begins to make sense in hindsight. God never moves without first revealing. He may not give you the full picture, but he will always give you enough light for the next step. The shift rewards obedience, not hesitation. Recognizing the shift also requires emotional maturity. Change often triggers fear, nostalgia, and the temptation to retreat. It is easy to romanticize the familiar, even when it no longer serves your growth. But maturity recognizes that purpose is progressive. What was once your place of comfort can become your place of confinement if you stay too long. You must learn to grieve the old season without idolizing it. Honor it, learn from it, and then move forward. The shift will never accommodate your comfort. It will always call you to grow beyond it. There is also a sharpening of spiritual gifts during a shift. You may notice an increase in dreams, insight, prophetic impressions, or divine encounters. This is because heaven is communicating at a higher frequency. atmosphere around your life becomes charged with movement. And those who are tuned in will sense the urgency.
You are not being overwhelmed, you are being awakened. The shift is an invitation to come up higher, to see beyond what is happening and to partner with what heaven is doing. Those who fail to recognize the signs of a shift often find themselves working hard in outdated systems, building in expired places, or praying for doors that were never meant to open again. Sensitivity to the Spirit is your safeguard. Discernment is your compass. When you recognize the signs, you respond not with panic, but with posture. The shift is not to be feared. It is to be followed. It is the divine mechanism that carries you from assignment to fulfillment, from preparation to manifestation, from potential to purpose. The consequences of delay are often more serious than they appear. Delay is not merely the absence of action. It is a silent decision that postpones destiny and prolongs the fulfillment of purpose. Every calling has a window, and every window eventually closes. What many fail to understand is that purpose is time-sensitive. When a chosen one delays their obedience, they begin to drift out of alignment with divine timing. Heaven's agenda is not stalled because of human hesitation, but the individual's opportunity to participate in that agenda may be lost. Delay creates a gap between assignment and fulfillment. And in that gap, frustration, confusion, and missed moments thrive. There is a cost to waiting too long to respond. The longer you delay, the harder it becomes to discern the voice of God amidst the noise of fear, doubt, and competing priorities. Delay often disguises itself as wisdom or caution, but in reality, it is frequently rooted in fear and a desire to control outcomes. That grace is tied to a specific time, and when that time is ignored, the grace begins to lift.
It's not that you miss the moment, it's that you may now face a battle that obedience would have helped you avoid.
Delay also weakens momentum. Purpose carries a divine energy, a rhythm that must be followed. When you hesitate, that rhythm is disrupted. Was supposed to flow becomes forced. What was supposed to be easy becomes difficult. Opportunities are often tied to motion. When you move, doors open. When you stall, doors close. The doors are not always open indefinitely. They are timed to your obedience. You may find yourself praying for access to something that was once yours, but that expired due to prolonged inaction. In such moments, the issue is not whether you were chosen, but whether you chose to move when it was time. Another consequence of delay is the misplacement of resources. Provision is often positioned according to purpose. When you delay, the DPs, opportunities, finances, and support meant for that season can become inaccessible. Resources follow movement. When you remain idle, those divine connections pass by. God prepares the way, but the chosen must walk in it. Provision without movement becomes wasted potential. You cannot expect divine backing while you remain in a place God told you to leave. Delay not only causes you to miss what was meant for you, it may also transfer your opportunity to someone else who is willing to respond. Delay opens the door to unnecessary warfare. When you remain in a place beyond your time, you become vulnerable. Obedience is a shield. It positions you under divine protection. But when you delay, you step outside of the covering meant for that moment. Many of the battles people face are not because they are under attack, but because they are out of position. God provides grace for your assignment, but if you linger too long in disobedience, you expose yourself to environments you were never meant to endure. Delay often makes you fight wars that purpose would have helped you avoid.
The emotional toll of delay is also significant.
Prolonged inaction leads to inner conflict. You begin to feel unfulfilled, restless, and disconnected. Depression, anxiety, and discouragement often take root in delayed purpose. The human spirit was designed to be in motion, to be building, creating, moving towards something greater. When you suppress that movement through delay, you begin to feel lost, not because God has forgotten you, but because you have ignored the signals that it is time to act. The longer you wait, the more your confidence erodes. Doubt grows, clarity fades, and hope begins to diminish. Delay is not passive, it is corrosive. Delay can also negatively impact others. The chosen one carries a responsibility not just to themselves, but to the lives their obedience is meant to influence. Every calling is connected to others. There are people waiting on your voice, your decision, your obedience. When you delay their freedom. You interrupt their timeline. Purpose is rarely isolated. It is interwoven into a greater tapestry of divine plans. Your movement triggers movement in others. Delay does not only cost you, it costs them. And while God is merciful, time lost cannot always be regained in the same way. Delay cultivates spiritual dullness. Each time you ignore a prompting, you become less sensitive to the next one. The voice of God grows faint in a heart that consistently refuses to act. Sensitivity is preserved through swift obedience. The more you delay, the easier it becomes to justify disobedience. What once was a clear directive becomes a distant memory. What was once urgency becomes routine. And over time, you may find yourself stuck in cycles, revisiting old lessons, circling the same mountains, not because the promise isn't real, but because you delayed when it was time to move.